AI is overhyped, overfunded. Is AI actually over?
That's what the big money monopoly monocle-wearing banker types are saying. We'll tell you why.
And OpenAI is suddenly no longer in China? Their mysterious exit has the internet speculating.
Spoiler, it's unpaid parking tickets. All that plus a slew of new AI video tools that are taking aim at Hollywood.
And how the future of hyper-personalized media means that we're all gonna lose touch with society.
I lost touch with society a long time ago.
Me too. It's AI for humans. Some huge AI news came out this week out of Goldman Sachs, of all places. They produced a very long and very dense report titled Gen AI, Too Much Spend, Too Little Benefit. And what this was a deep dive, 31-page look at how much money is being spent on generative AI right now and comparing to what we're getting out of this. And Kevin, there's been a lot of stories lately from CNBC to a lot of mainstream press that basically is saying that there are tens of billions of dollars being poured into this technology from companies like Google, Meta, Microsoft, and that not a lot of economic value has come out of it yet. And, there's been calls that this is a bubble, a pretty big bubble for a long time. And if you look at NVIDIA's stock price, it's pretty easy to see that that's possible. But this is not a one-off, right? We've been hearing this for a little while, that the Gen AI boom is really more of a what are we doing with this technology sort of thing.
So first, let's summarize what is in this business brief. They're saying that massive investment is an issue, that there's too much money being thrown at this magical bubble between the data centers that are being spun up, the custom chips, the AI infrastructure, the power grid, Gavin. Think about the polar bears that are going to have to tread water. Some of that, super valid. Totally valid, all right? Not necessarily AI's fault. You could say it's an issue with our investment culture and the need to pump and then dump something in this world. But okay, so there's massive investment. Then there's the look at the current outcomes, which is where we're spending these billions, maybe trillions of dollars globally. And what did they get? An extra $20 out of us for Canva? An extra $30 to make some Suno songs, Gavin? That doesn't sound like a ROI. The old return on investment, does it?
No, it doesn't. But I will say my thought with this stuff is they always talk about the trough of disillusionment when you look at those graphs of like what goes up and what goes down.
Yep.
I think we're in a little bit of the trough of disillusionment right now. And this is also all ties into like the anger around AI in some form. I think right now we are waiting for the next generation systems. And actually, Kevin Scott, again, one of our favorites from Microsoft, had a really interesting comment that he said just yesterday on a Sequoia podcast, so a VC podcast.
Despite what other people think, we're not at diminishing marginal returns on scale up. And like I try to help people understand, like, there is an exponential here, and like the unfortunate thing is you only get to sample it every couple of years because it just takes a while to build supercomputers and then to train models on top of them. And so the next sample is coming.
I think that we just have to see where these next generation models take us, because I think right now everybody's out there saying they can't trust these AIs. Businesses particularly are experimenting, but they are not making any money off of them. And that's what this is about. I think ultimately this is a business-focused report that says you're spending so much money and there's nothing coming back. That's what I think is happening.
There's a lot happening in here, and I think AI gets scapegoated for the bad behavior of VCs, individual investors, or companies that, and I'll say companies, scam artists that are slapping AI. Why did Apple just confetti me on that one? Did you see that?
For scam artists.
I tried to do, hey, let's all celebrate the scam artists. There are scam artists, as there are with any new technology or new promising therapy, whatever. There are people that are slapping AI labels on things that you and I both know that anybody who does an ounce of research know aren't real, right?
Yes.
And so there's a lot of stuff being swept under this one big rug, this giant banner of like, oh, AI gonna fail. The scale, which is responsible for a lot of the massive investment, the power draw, the new factories that they need, the new enhanced chips, all that stuff, to say that we haven't seen improvements from like a GPT-3 to all of the models that we have now, it's a lie. That's a lie.
Yeah.
Now, we might not get that scale of improvement in the future. And if we don't, then something like this rings true. But the hits keep coming every day. We cover it on this show. These models get better. The technology improves. We find creative ways around the hurdles that are in front of us now. Is there a bubble? Sure. But like, we are currently using a technology that had all of these complaints lobbied against it and had a major crash. We're using a technology to discuss this very thing right now. It's the damn internet, and it happened in the 90s, and it had a decade of hype and pump and dump and then crash. And then guess what? A lot of the promises came true. It just took a little bit longer than expected.
I think the big last thing I'll say about this is search is the white whale that exists that I believe that ChatGPT is coming for. And I know most people don't believe that, but I use it all the time. And that is a massive amount of value. Now, it's value that's been locked in Google for a long time, so it may not necessarily create new value, but there is value coming for these tools. And Kevin, it is not stopping the chip makers and the big companies from spending right now based on this. There's a story that came out from The Information's Amir Efrati, where he said that basically OpenAI's next supercomputing clusters are going to have 100,000 NVIDIA GB200s. These are the new chips that are going to be more powerful than the H100 and will go online in 2025. This is about $5 billion to rent this over the course of 2 years. So the spending is not stopping. And last thing about this, these companies have amassed incredible fortunes. What do you want them to spend their money on rather than the next iteration of what they believe is game-changing technology?
Healthcare for their employees, Gavin.
Well, they do
pension
that.
packages.
They do that. All those companies have really good employee benefits. Hey, by the way, before we move on to our next story, everybody, if you're on YouTube watching this, please like and subscribe to this video. And we have just launched a Patreon. So if you're watching this video and you want to find a way to support us, please check out the link right below here. It's the first thing you're going to see.
All right, Gavin, let's continue discussing massive AI news. This week, OpenAI suddenly, mysteriously, yoinked out of China. They yeeted themselves out of the country. The GPT-4o model is no longer available. Now, if you are trying to access it through Microsoft, oddly enough, it is still available through their Azure Cloud service. Yep. But OpenAI themselves, an independent company, as Microsoft points out in their statement, they've decided to cut off API access. Now, a lot of people were speculating why that is and what that signals. OpenAI's only statement on it was basically, we're not fully supported in the region, and so we don't want people accessing it. So let's talk speculation, Gavin. Do you think this signals anything, and why do you think they yeeted out?
Well, there's two things going on here. One I think is really interesting is a lot of the stories around this are about how the Chinese market will respond to this. China is a race to reach artificial general intelligence, just like OpenAI is, because of the power of that system. In some ways, this has encouraged Chinese people, the Chinese tech companies, to create their own systems internally that would be as powerful as this. So a lot of the stories are really about like China stepping up and saying, oh, we have to do this ourselves. The second part of this, I think that's really important, is this does get to the size of the company that OpenAI has become, the protections it's trying to find. One of the things that can happen about not allowing OpenAI access in China was it could be a security concern. It could be a concern about the censorship issues that come up in China and not wanting to provide a different product. There's a lot of people speculating out there that this is in some way a signal that OpenAI is about to drop its next model, and that the idea that it would be cutting off China now means that they're about to drop GPT-5 or whatever version of it that is. And again, the thing that I think is an important thing to realize is that OpenAI has become such a scrutinized company, not only size-wise, but politically, technologically. In fact, Microsoft just had to step off the board of OpenAI due to specific regulators getting worried about the fact that they had it on it.
Even Apple had to step away because they're changing it. These were just observer roles on the board as well. They had no direct control, but people were getting concerned.
This is a big story to follow. It's nothing yet, obviously, but I do think this signals something. I think it signals that OpenAI is growing into the kind of company that really has to start worrying about both political stuff and being hacked.
I will do a very, very polite and subtle clap for all of the Chinese AI companies that suddenly have millions of new users. Everybody was giving away free tokens like it's Oprah with a Prius. All the Chinese companies were like, come to us. Millions of users overnight searching for a new AI solution. So it's a big thing for the Chinese companies. It's odd that Microsoft is still there and available, though.
My theory is that it may not provide the next model. If OpenAI is going to drop a next model, I would bet it won't be available on Azure in China.
Well, we know that other countries were using OpenAI against itself, basically using their latest model to train their models and help generate synthetic data. So that would lend some credence to that hypothesis, but we don't actually know. I want to talk, Gavin, about dark factories.
I know this. When I saw this story, I was like, oh, this is right up Kevin's alley. Dark factories, cell phones, clicks a minute. I know this is Kevin's juice.
Real quick.
Drink that juice.
Slurp, slurp. Okay, slurp, slurp nation, get your bendy straws. That's what
Put it in the Capri Sun and get ready, because here comes slurp, slurp juice.
Slurp, slurp. It's Juice Nation. Show Me makes everything now. They make cell phones. They make cars. They announced that they have a new smartphone production factory that's in Beijing. The CEO apparently gave a video tour of the new factory, Gavin, and this is a factory that can operate 24 hours a day, generating one full cell phone every minute, and it requires 0 human beings. And
it's incredible.
Because there's no pesky flesh bags roaming about this factory, they can create a dust-free environment with micron-level dust removal, Gavin. So this is going to be a dark factory, which is the term that they use for no human beings around, just a bunch of machines worrying about making cell phones, and then I guess hoping that there's humans alive 10 years from now to actually use said phones.
I want to just say Dark Factory is a terrible branding choice. Let us not choose Dark Factory. What about Automated Factory? That sounds a little bit better than Dark Factory, but this does show the future of manufacturing. We are in a world where there are probably a couple humans walking around the catwalk at the top, looking down at these robots making this stuff, and not a lot of people doing the work. Now, granted, I did just watch one of my favorite shows of all time is How It's Made on the Science Channel, which is a Canadian show. It just does a lot of factory B-roll.
Yeah.
I saw a video, Kevin, of people making sandwiches, and it was one of the craziest things I've ever seen.
Was this the one with the mayonnaise that gets glooped onto things? Like, I saw that too. I was mesmerized.
I was like, humans should not be in that loop. I don't want humans in that video, they had humans without gloves on putting ham on a bunch of sandwiches. Anyway, sometimes dark factories could be good.
And not to shade the job. I'm glad it is a job and hopefully a pension and healthcare for an employee, but there's got to be something more fulfilling for a human being. There was someone who just nudged bread.
Yes.
They just kind of held their finger out and kind of nudged bread to make sure it was in like the perfect alignment. And look, I want everybody to not have to worry about paychecks and food and water and clean air and all of those things. But like bread nudging, can we get a robot hand to do some bread nudging? Is that elitist of me, Gavin? Am I going to cut that out because I feel bad about saying it?
No. Here's the thing. I think the important thing overall is human jobs have transformed over time. One of the big transformations was the Industrial Revolution, where a lot of humans worked in factories. Those were all new jobs that came out of the Industrial Revolution. We are almost done with those jobs, and we have evolved into all sorts of other things, internet, marketing, all sorts of terrible things as well, but have come out of that. This is a next revolution, and what's interesting is I do think those jobs will go away, and I feel for people who have been working those jobs for generations, some of them. But there are new opportunities coming up, probably less, but also who knows? I think a lot of very smart people believe very strongly that there will be all sorts of new enterprises that come out of this AI boom. And just because the jobs that existed before doesn't mean that there won't be new jobs that come next.
Sorry, Gavin, I do have to say that if you are a crust nudger, and if your grandpappy was a crust nudger, and you've come from a long line of crust nudgers, I do apologize. In the moment, I was trying to make a lighthearted observation, but I did just ask people to go and subscribe to our Patreon. So who am I to throw a giant boulder in my glass
Kevin,
mansion?
that is great exclusive content. What we could do is nudge crusts for like 6 hours. We can make a video. Very small short story. I spent 3 months in high school, after high school, working a job in a box plant, which I literally took one box with 3 other guys, put it inside another box, fortified that box, pulled it out, and stacked it. Those jobs are not fun, and I understand they're valuable jobs, but they are not fun, and I hope those people will be able to go on. Okay, I want to move on to something that is kind of fun in the world of AI. Anthropic, the makers of Claude, and now Claude 3.5 Sonnet, which is one of the best models out there, dropped a really cool feature, Kev. They're called artifacts, and we've seen artifacts before, but what you can do now is share and remix these artifacts. And artifacts are ostensibly little programs that Claude has written with your help, but now you can take somebody else's artifact, play with it, but not only that, you can actually remix it yourself. And I saw this guy created an Asteroids game like clone within a Claude. I took it, I grabbed his artifact, played around with a little bit, and granted, it's, a very basic Asteroids clone.
Sure.
But I was able to like put my own visual on the spaceship and just play with it myself. It is just a really cool way to start thinking of programming. In the way that we've thought about like, say, social media content, or the way we think of like retweeting, the idea that you could retweet a program and add your own little piece to it is a very cool idea and a very cool use case of AI.
My only gripe in their otherwise amazing launch video is that they had a demo of a game where a crab just goes across the screen and then dies.
I saw that.
And it says game over. And I'm like, maybe it's because of my G4 game capture days. I'm like, no, you never show the player doing nothing and dying.
Jumping. You get the crab jumping and enjoying his life.
Yeah, or remix it and let the crab live.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good point. All right, we are moving on to some really big Prompt to Hollywood updates.
I know we have to move on, but if someone wants to make Crust Nudger, the video game, where you just press spacebar to align the bread as it goes down the conveyor belt, I will nudge your crust.
Oh, that sounded weird.
It was supposed to.
Okay, you win. You win for the weird part. Don't do those eyes. Keep those eyes to yourself. If you're not watching on the video, please stay away from the video.
Let me nudge your crust.
All right. We are moving on. We have some really cool updates coming out of some new AI video tools. There's 3 quick stories we want to blow through here real fast, but I think something interesting is happening right now. And my overall theory is the Sora boom that happened, like, what was it, in February or March of this year, got people really excited about what was possible. And now all those other AI tools are starting to catch up. So the first big story I want to talk about is a new company that came out of stealth called Odyssey. And what Odyssey is doing, I think really smartly, is they are creating an AI tool specifically for high-end filmmaking. So this is a company that is not being created to try to make very small, dumb prompts about the weirdest things you can do, which if you haven't seen our runway experiment video, go watch it now. But this company is specifically saying we are creating an AI video company that is designed to replace some shots that you might see in famous Hollywood films. In fact, one of the biggest things they showed were really beautiful landscape photos, right? Or really beautiful landscape videos. And that does feel like a place that people will use AI video.
So a really interesting point about this company, Oliver Cameron is the CEO. He worked previously, I think, at Cruise doing self-driving vehicles,
which is a big
whatever.
Deal. Yeah.
Y Combinator alum. He posted on X a bit about the way their model works, and it's actually 4 models in one. So according to his tweet, there is a high-quality geometry model paired with a photorealistic material model, then a lighting model on top of a controllable motion model. So instead of the other approaches from like prompt to video that we've seen where text goes in and a flat video comes out, here they're combining the outputs of these 4 models. So that way, if you just want to change the textures, if you just want to change the lighting, or if a subject in your scene is moving wrong, but you like everything else, you have more granular control. And that is like of course.
Layers, it's layers.
It's layers. And if this works, this absolutely shows you what the future, there will be the high quality physics model, the high quality motion model, the high quality audio model. Everything will be stemmed and separated with ultra targeted models so that you can tweak and adjust it. And it makes total sense. I have no idea computationally if this is the straw that breaks the environment camel's back, or how expensive it's going to be. But if you're aiming at ultra high-end Hollywood to start, theoretically they can afford this stuff.
And on the other side, here's another quick story. There was a new company that also came out of stealth called DreamFlare, which is an AI content streaming service. So this is ostensibly trying to be a version of the Netflix of AI content. It's very cute and interesting. Like I think it's $10 a month. Their idea is that they could create interactive AI content from current creators right now. You know, one of our favorites, Uncanny Harry, has a series up there, some other people, but this looks a lot like some of the AI video you've seen so far. I did see a really cool trailer for a project called Elizabeth, which is like a kind of choose your own adventure about Queen Elizabeth and looked really interesting. I don't know if this is ready for work yet, but speaking of a little early, Kevin, here's something that made me feel like maybe we're not that early. LumaLabs chief scientist, Jai-Ming Song, who goes by ABAADAS, I think that's at Badass on X, was interviewed by Anji Midha on X, and actually talked about the idea of real-time video generation. And Kev, Let's play a little clip of this because I was kind of shocked how close he believes this is.
And this is, again, a research preview. And in the future versions, our goal is, at the very least, try to generate videos as fast as you can type. Maybe 5-second videos in 5 seconds. So roughly 24 times faster than we currently have.
So at that point, it's just a real-time generation engine, isn't it?
Yes, that is the implication of it.
Let's say you introduce an initial latency of 1 second.
Yes.
And every subsequent user interaction thereafter, you're just buffering. Shouldn't it be indistinguishable to me as a user whether the underlying canvas I'm interacting with is a game engine versus a video model?
Yes, I don't think that statement is too far from reality.
Okay, so let's jump into this really quickly. I think this it feels, I will say, I'm not knowing the science. This feels like a little bit hype beasty to me in some form, but what he's getting at is this idea that we could create a real-time universe using AI video. I have a hard time believing this is this close. According to them, they're saying less than 12 months away, but Kev, we've seen a lot of advances lately, and Sora came out, the videos came out again in February, which they've clearly been working on for a while.
But even those Stable Diffusion Turbo or Lightning models where the moment, as you're typing in the prompt, it's automatically updating the image, that running locally or running on cell phones, which we've seen, is something that we thought might have been 4 or 5 years away. So
that's true.
Maybe they've got some secret sauce. Maybe it needs its own nuke reactor to power. Many have said, including us, that in the future, game engines might be just AI engines, essentially, right? And this is one way that you can do it. And instead of needing processors on the edge, you cloud compute it and spit it out, much like cloud gaming or the way, but it's an AI. You wouldn't know the difference if you're interfacing with it. I can't afford it, but
no, I mean, this does feel to me like by the time it reaches any sort of, this feels like a 5 to 10 year out sort of thing, like the idea of interactive real world, always on, infinite universes. But here's an interesting thing, Kev. There's a really interesting interview out there with Anastasia Bendebury, again, clipped by our favorite Twitter user, Sarnik, where she dives into the idea of what a world of hyper-personalized media can actually do based on AI.
So Gavin, we're gonna play the clip that Elon Musk replied to with, quote, "Not wrong."
You had product placements back in the day where everything was, all the Marvel movies had Coca-Cola cans in them. And now you're going to have Marvel movies that have a unique product based on all of the data that they've collected off of you, off your cell phone or whatever else. And that fractures reality just a little bit. If a shared reality is a limited commodity all of a sudden, that's kind of the fundamental. That's the scariest thing at all, where you can go talk to somebody across the street and they no longer live in the same universe as you because they have consumed video and media that has nothing to do with what you've seen.
And does AI exacerbate this issue? Absolutely. Are we already living in this timeline? 100%.
This is the theory that there has always been a theory about why we don't know aliens or why aliens haven't visited us. And one of the theories has been that we create simulated universes that are way more engaging than going out into the real world. This is the danger. Now, some might be like, that's not a danger. It's a world everybody's going to live in their own happy place or their own angry place, whatever they want for themselves. But there is definitely a fracturing that is going on. It's been really going on since the dawn of the internet, I would argue. It is not great, but it's where we're at right now. I think if you want to go out and live a life of your own into the woods, I totally understand it, but I don't know how we get around this, Kev.
AI is going to make all things better and all things worse. It's just an amplifier. So if you've ever walked down the street and asked anybody about any news story, you'll hear the version of it that they got. Even though the facts might be the same, the interpretation was completely different based upon where they received it. Yes, this will apply to our product placement. This might even apply, forget like if the Marvel members are drinking Coca-Cola or not, you might have a different ending to your movie based off what you want. Your favorite hero is going to defeat Thanos, whereas Thanos wins in my movie.
Oh, is that what happens in your version of the movie? That's so sad.
100%. So your Marvel movie might be different than mine because all of my Avengers are Nicolas Cage. That's the reality that I want, and the AI is going to give it to me.
Kevin, but Nick Cage himself doesn't want that. He just did an interview in The New Yorker that says he is terrified of AI And he hopes that recent body scans he had to do for 2 upcoming projects aren't used as reference for AI technology to recreate him on screen after his death.
He really should have that conversation with his agents and managers before he has the conversation with Variety. Like, come on.
I would assume that they already have. By the way, I do want to say Nick Cage is one of my all-time favorites. I appreciate the weirdness that he brings to everything in his life, and I just think he's the greatest. Second of all, Kev, I think this is an obvious kind of understandable thought from an actor who specifically has made obviously strange choices and fun choices over the course of his career. He doesn't want people to put him in places necessarily that he doesn't want to be. We thought, well, why not create an AI version of Nick Cage himself?
Why not do the exact thing that has your favorite actor, one of your favorite actors, so concerned? Let's just do it now so we can get a feel for it.
We're just going to ask an AI version of Nick Cage to hear what he thinks, because this is what we've done is created as our AI Coast this week, a Nick Cage AI. Not that we are saying this is Nick Cage himself. We have created an AI to give us some thoughts on this, and then maybe give us like 3 or 4 movies that he's going to star in that Nick Cage himself would never want to star in. And again, this would be very clear. This is not Nick Cage, the actor. This is Nick Cage, the AI. Why don't we just say hello to him, Kev?
Oh, baby. The Nick AI is in the house. Hollywood, prepare for the ultimate upgrade. Kevin and Gavin, you're in for a wild ride. I'm the larger-than-life AI-powered next-gen sensation taking over where the legendary Nicolas Cage left off. Get ready for explosions, car chases, and AI-powered dragons.
Oh,
let's rock and roll, baby.
Yeah, baby, let's do it. And
Look at his famous hand motion there.
Okay.
Let's just ask him really quickly what he thinks about Nick Cage himself saying he doesn't want to be involved in AI movies.
This is startling. Nick Cage probably hates the existence of this character. I wonder how AI Nick Cage would feel about that.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Nick Cage is scared of AI. That's like a Jedi fearing a lightsaber, man. Listen, Nick, if you're out there, AI's not here to take away your thunder. It's here to crank it up to 11. Imagine a world where Nick Cage never needs sleep, never ages, and can star in every movie at once. We're talking about a cinematic revolution, my friend, with AI. I'm going to make your wildest roles look like warm-up acts. Trust me, it's going to be epic.
Okay. We got to hear what these wild roles are, right?
I do, and I will say this AI voice works very well on Nick Cage, because that's like what he does. He like starts slow and then goes crazy.
Let's hear it, baby.
Let's hear what his wild roles are.
Oh, buckle up, boys. Here are 3 wild roles that only the Nick Cage can pull off. 1, robotic cowboy in a space western. Now, picture this. A high noon showdown on Mars with laser pistols, robo-horses, and tumbleweeds made of stardust. I'll be the cyborg gunslinger with a heart of gold and a plasma rifle fighting off alien outlaws.
I could imagine Nick Cage doing that. That doesn't...
2,
Yeah, me too.
time-traveling ninja pirate.
Well...
You heard me right. I'm talking about a swashbuckling ninja who travels through time, battling samurais, Vikings, and even dinosaurs. I'll be swinging swords, throwing shurikens, and sailing through the ages in a ship powered by AI magic.
Okay. Sure.
3, mad scientist in a monster mashup.
It's weird to hear the AI making
Picture
it up
a
as
lab
it goes
filled
along.
with Tesla coils and bubbling beakers. I'll be the eccentric genius who accidentally creates a horde of AI-enhanced classic movie monsters. Think Dracula with laser eyes, Frankenstein's monster with rocket fists, and a werewolf that can hack the Pentagon.
I kind of like the last one.
Yeah, maybe can we ask what the name of that last movie is, and then we'll let AI Nick Cage go back to his bodily rest and keep putting him down.
The name of movie 3 is our cyber freak show, The Monster Uprising. And the catchphrase, picture this, the ultimate showdown.
Picture this.
You know, monsters wreaking havoc, and I, the mad scientist, amidst the chaos. I leap onto a Tesla coil, electricity crackling all around, and bellow, unleash the chaos, my freaky friends.
That's it?
Unleash the chaos, my freaky friends.
My freaky friends. Well, we're going to let AI Nick Cage go. But again, it was interesting. Last week we had AI Quentin Tarantino. This week we had AI Nick Cage. both love the phrase "picture this." Picture
Picture
this.
this.
It's like the perfect thing to see everybody.
I say it at all my meetings now.